Hey, how's it going everyone? We're here with the latest S.H.Monsterarts release. It feels like it's been a while since the last one actually, and this month we were meant to have two releases. The Hedorah 50th Anniversary Special Set, which we do have in front here, as well as the Godzilla SP Rodan, who unfortunately has been delayed. I believe he should be coming next month though. But yeah, anyway, I've been actually really looking forward to this release. Hedorah is probably one of my favourite movies for the Godzilla series, and definitely one of my favourite monsters. If you haven't seen the movie, I highly recommend it. I mean, to be honest, it's not the best movie, but the actual story, the themes are very good. I think it could do with a re-release, or I should say a remake. But the things about pollution is very fitting to our current world. So yeah, it'd be cool to see an updated version of this, maybe in the Monsterverse world. But yeah, so yeah, this is a beast of a set actually. We've got 3 different figures in here, or I should say, 1 main figure and 2 bonus ones. And on the back of the box we do have a selection of images showcasing the different versions of them. On the front though, we do have the 50th anniversary logo that they do have for Hedorah here, as well as the Premium Bandai, or I should say the Tamashii Web product logo there, because this is a Premium Bandai release in Japan. If you bought it from other regions, the box, that logo may not actually be present. But the other one is the Tamashii Kori seal sticker. That's one way to tell a legit figure or not. But yeah, anyway, let's just pop them open and get a closer look. So we do have the instructions here, which we may reference later for the stand. Got the main packaging, and then in a separate part underneath we have the base and stand, which is quite handy. And then in the main packaging here we have the figures. So we have the flying mode. We've got his the sperm mode. I'm not sure what this one is actually called, but it's pretty cool. You can actually pop it off and put it onto the base, so we'll check that one out soon. It's kind of like the early tadpole version of Hedorah. And then speaking of Hedorah, we've got the beast himself right here in all his glory. So before we jump into Hedorah, let's get the stands out though, so it's a bit easier to see the other versions. So there is a big stand here, and this one is with flying mode. So we've got the under, I guess the cup, I guess you could call it, and apparently that just clips in underneath like so. I guess kind of like that, if you can see. But we'll get a close look at the overall finish for this one a little bit later. And then for the other one, we can put him onto his flying stand as well. Same thing, just a miniature version. Got the stand and the base that he sits on. Nice and easy. Okay, let me move this out of the way and we can get a close look at the overall finish of Hedorah. So we'll start with the tadpole version of Hedorah here. Yeah, the painting of him is really nice. Got the mix of the dark and lighter greys, and there's some like little bit kind of like a glitter silver sprinkling throughout his paint as well, so it is quite nice and metallic. The eyes are really nice. I love them on each version of this figure. This one a little bit harder to see, but you do have the gold and the dark red there as well, which looks really nice. And now this one here, as I said earlier, we have it on the flying stand, but if we want, we can actually take his head off and attach it to this flat one. This is kind of like the coming out of a sludge. Kind of similar to when you see them coming out of the ocean as well. So having them just spinning around there. I think overall, I think this is probably my preferred way to display him. It looks really nice, just kind of popping up like that. And you can kind of have it on the ground as well next to the other figures. But yeah, on the bottom, not very much here, just basic plastic with a single peg. I think it's pretty effective. What do you think? Which one do you prefer? Do you prefer this version or the one when he is in full tadpole mode? Let me pop that back in. There we go. So next up is his flying form, and this is when he kind of zips from one place to another, spewing out that sort of toxic gas below, killing everyone and everything that he flies over. I really like this part. I mean, there's no articulation, actually, so I like it. It kind of is, and these things are kind of soft. It kind of gave me the creeps when I first took it out of the box and I touched it. They're kind of bendy, flexy bits, which is actually quite cool. Some nice texture going through there. It really does look like one of those, what was it, the sea crustacean type of a creature. And yeah, on the top as well, the paint is nice. You've got the highlights there and the darker greys going through, so it looks really good. And then those eyes are beautiful. The nice deep kind of red, which is kind of lighter and darker in some parts, and then the nice gold, I'm not sure how you, the kind of starburst look there is really crisp and clean. I really like this version. The stand is pretty cool, actually pretty stable. Yeah, this part here kind of dips down a little bit, and that's what connects up underneath his little bit dangly tendril things. And finally, we've got Hedorah himself in his full-fledged walking on two-leg form. And yeah, the paint job on this guy is really nice. Again, the whole mix of light and dark greys to give you the depth and weathering, and then with all the red highlights, the kind of sickly, poisonous green yellow underneath, which is kind of coming out of the cracks on the top of his head as well, which is super clean. Let me flip that down. So yeah, all those kind of cracks, it looks like kind of pus oozing kind of, it looks really disgustingly great. Again, the eyes are fantastic, same as the flying one, a little bit smaller, but you do have the nice sort of gold bursting with a kind of yellow in there as well. Yeah, just kind of all the weathering and the detailing. I don't know, I think he looks really nice. And when he comes around to the back, you can see that kind of I guess the poisonous pussy sack he has on the back there, with that kind of vibrant yellowy, orange and red colours coming through there. It just makes it look toxic. But yeah, the finish of him, I think he looks really nice. All his joints, I mean, it blends in really well. It's quite hard to tell where he does articulate. Some are a little bit more obvious than others, like kind of on his arms here, but again, it still blends in really well. So yeah, I'm pretty damn impressed about the finish on these figures. I think they look really nice. All three of them actually. I mean, they all fit in together really well. But being this is a Monsterarts figure, which is known for its articulation, so yeah, I guess we can start off and check out the articulation on Hedorah himself. Before I jump into the articulation, I will kind of preface this section with saying that I don't expect much articulation in this figure. Even when it first released or announced, he's the type of figure that it looks like it'd be quite hard to get a good range articulation there from his design, since he's just overflowing with well, sludge essentially for this figure everywhere, which will hinder movement. So I'm quite interested to see what type of motion or where we do have some articulation. So we'll start from the head. So there is one big ball joint underneath there. And yeah, he can, pretty impressive for the swivel going on there, so that's really nice. Going forward and back, not too much motion there, maybe a couple of millimeter. Again for the kind of tilting as well, and there's just a little bit of motion. There we go, that one's a bit better actually. Yeah, so actually, you know, I think that head so far isn't too bad. So rotation, tilting, pretty good. Just the forward and back motion is pretty limited. That part's not bad. So I've got 1, 2, 3 parts here which seem to be separate. Okay, that's working a bit better. So once you kind of separate that top part from these inner parts, that will give you more range of motion there. Now, I will also mention that I haven't really played with this yet. I took out of a box 1 or 2 photos which I posted on Instagram earlier today, and then I've kind of haven't had a chance to have a good play until now. But his neck, you can see, goes all the way up, maybe a little bit hard to see. So if you kind of separate, as I mentioned earlier, these kind of flaps out, then yeah, I think decent range of motion overall. Moving down to his that leg flap popped off. So moving down to his shoulders, these kind of swivel up and down, not too much. A little bit of motion up and down there. The side leg flap does pop off a little bit, need to push that back on. But yeah, the arms up and down, not too bad. He's got his, I don't know, hand I guess you would call it. The side here that has a decent range of motion on both sides. So yeah, overall arms not bad. Yeah, I mean, nothing amazing, but it's not that horrible either. And the legs are pretty nice, they will pop off easily. You can see a peg in there, which these all just clip onto. So that's quite nice. You can kind of see the inner construction of its leg. So that all kind of swivels. There's no real knee joints on these per se, but everything feels and moves really nicely. These pop on easily and kind of pops off easy as well, but that's kind of good so that way you don't risk breaking anything, since a lot of it is kind of softer rubber. Depending on the temperature, it's actually really hot in Tokyo today. It was over 36 degrees, so I think all the rubber on this guy is a lot more softer and malleable than normal. But yeah, the legs move nicely. Down to his tail. Yeah, got what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points of articulation. That's mostly just for the up and down. But yeah, I think overall pretty good. I mean, compared to the previous Godzilla, I wouldn't expect amazing articulation, but for such a restricted design of a figure, I think he has some really nice articulation. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of the parts are rubber, so all these kind of flaps will move and kind of bend and flex, which is quite good. The main part that kind of hinders this motion is this whole back section. Due to that design, that means we don't really get any of that back center, I guess, upper chest area point of articulation, which is a shame. There's a slight motion, but yeah, it's pretty limited in that regard. For a size comparison, I've got the previously released 2004 Godzilla here next to Hedorah. I'm hoping we do get a 71 Godzilla in the near future, because yeah, again, one of my favourite movies. I definitely want the Godzilla from that. But yeah, I think in terms of SH.Monsterarts scaling, yeah, these seem to work out pretty well actually. What do you reckon? Let me know below what you think about the sizing of Hedorah here compared to the 2004 Godzilla. Same for the big beast of a flying version as well. Yeah, a lot bigger than expected, and weighty as well. Definitely very solid, which is quite good, and it means he kind of stays on his stand well. And then we've got the small guy here too for a full size comparison. Okay, so now for the pros and cons of the video. First up, the huge pro is the fact that we got Hedorah himself, his flying version, and his little tadpole, kind of semi-first appearance version as well, which is great. And I'm actually quite surprised we did get an articulated version of Hedorah here. Yeah, it was perfect timing with the 50th anniversary as well. The other huge pro of this figure is the overall finish. The paint job is wonderful. The eyes on the flying one especially are absolutely fantastic. I love the colouring. The kind of, let me swirl this around a little more. Let's shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. The kind of that toxic, greeny, sludgy colour there is great. All the different, slightly kind of bluish grey, dark grey. Got the reds, the kind of shiny black in the crack of his hair with the kind of toxicity colours coming through. Everything like that just looks amazing. So yeah, finish I think top notch. Over to the articulation, I think for the design, the articulation is good. I mean, I'm not sure what else I would really want from him. The articulation is kind of a pro-con for this figure. Con being the fact that it's not as extreme as previous figures, such as the 04 Godzilla, but he was kind of in a league of his own. Some extra kind of torso articulation would have been quite nice. But I think, yeah, the arms for the most part is sufficient. The head area, once you kind of get everything moving, it was actually really nice. So yeah, that was good. The other con, some of the arm joints there, it's not too bad. Could be a little bit tidier compared to some of the other parts. The inner leg flaps in here, they do come off easily. Though they do go back on easy as well. It's probably not really a big issue overall, I believe. So I jumped back to the pros again. I like the fact that the little wee tadpole guy comes with the full body as well as the base for this version. I think the versatility there is nice. And the stains work pretty well too. Maybe I wouldn't trust the big one in Earthquake in Japan. But if you kind of stick it down, it should be okay. Yeah, I mean, cons. There hasn't really been anything that stuck out to me so far that I dislike about this figure. It kind of ticked all the boxes for me. It illustrates Hedorah. You've got all the forms, and the paint job looks really well. It captures his essence. So yeah, let me know in the comments below if there's anything on this figure so far that kind of sticks out as a huge red flag to you or a con. And if you buy him or not, and if not, why not? You should. I think it is a must for any Monsterarts collection, and hopefully we do get the 71 Godzilla to pair with him in the near future. If you haven't checked out the movie, go check it out. It's great, especially the fish head dancing scene. Yeah, the movie is a treat. But yeah, until next month, hopefully we'll have Rodon. But if you do want to check out more photos in the meantime for Hedorah here, you can jump on rockchala.com, 360 images and a selection of photos for this figure, as well as all the previous releases too, and a cool collection tracker list maker, so you can go check that out. Links below. Anyway, again, thank you very much for watching. Until next time, cheers!